This is a late 17th century, 18th century Schnepper crossbow. So you can tell by the name that it is a German origin. They were used as hunting bows, light hunting bows, maybe up to 400 pounds or something in draw weight. Now, there have been some big changes. The Renaissance has hit Europe, and that has affected crossbows as well. So the old crossbow lock system, which really was going back to Roman times in principle, has now started to go. It had some big deficiencies that we'll come to in a moment. But what you can see here is a more decorated bow. This one is actually, it hasn't got the massive ostentation of decoration that they often did, but that was for cost reasons to do with the client. But there have been some other changes to it. So we now have what's much more of a gunstock type form here. Very notably a trigger and a trigger guard. So the trigger is lighter, I'll come to that, than the medieval bows, but you now need that guard to protect that, to stop the accidental discharge. The klap lock and the bolt clip. The bolt clip came in about 1500 or so. The klap lock is new now. That is really around about the 1700s. This one has no sights, sometimes they did. Linen string. Steel bow, now set back from the front of the stock. Often they had the safety cords on them, this does not. Pom-poms, purely there for decoration, no other function. Very, very typical of hunting bows of this period. This is now no longer loaded by a goat's foot lever or a cranquin or a windlass. This is a new invention now, is the gaff lever. So that connects on the front here, that's what the difference is. Now, part of the thinking here is they've looked at the old bows and they've looked at the inefficiencies of them. So the string now barely touches upon the top of the stock, because you lose about 10% of your efficiency if it drags heavily. The bolt groove is now longer, that allows you a bit more accuracy, and that's why this bow is set back from the front, to allow that longer bolt guidance. The front guide is created now by this bridge. Now that means again that the friction on the bolt is reduced, because it's just at that point contact there and at the butt. So as you span it, I'll show you in a minute, you swing that out the way, the bolt clip, make sure that the lock is set in the correct position. As the string comes in, it pushes down, the lock closes and it locks the string. Now what's really important about that, you see it's got this groove here. It does not have the nut of the old medieval systems. Now the reason for that is if you pull the string back onto this nut, the entire load of the bow is transferred through and into the trigger system. So you pulling the trigger need to actually release the 400, 800 pounds or whatever that is engaged on the nut. Now, if you set that right, you can make it not that heavy, but it's never a light bow. It's never a light trigger. Whereas, if you use the Schnepper system with the klap lock, most of the load of the string is actually transferred into the stock. So it is just a light pressure on the trigger needed just to allow that to pop back and the string slips out. So in that way, there's a massively reduced load through the trigger system. You can get away with just a simple and very modern feeling normal trigger, quite light to use. So the way these are spanned, as I said, you would start like this. You open the bolt clip and you draw the string back using the gaff lever. Now I'm not very used to these, so I might be a little bit awkward. I'm sure with some practice I would get better. So you suspend it on the front. You push back, it is now locked in. So what we do then is we swing the clip around, put the bolt in, aim and shoot. So this is how you shoot a Schnepper crossbow. So the lever goes on, down, so the bolt just goes in, making sure it's fully back, clips on, there we go. Reset the lock back. So, just loading up for the last one and then we'll go see how we did. So I'm not very practiced in this one. It's the goats that lever bows I use this. It's the first I've made. But let's see. So let's go and have a look how we're done. Looks pretty good from here. So there's a few points I'd like to make about this here. This is a group, about 3 inches, 80 mil, something like that, at 20 metres, 20 yards. So that's a pretty respectable group. No sights on the bow. So all you people out there who say you can't hit anything without sights, so on, it's just not true. It's the second time I've shot this bow, and you know, it shoots well. No sights.